In 2004, a 14-year-old kid signed a crazy $1 million deal with Nike. He was on the cover of Time magazine, and Pele himself called him the future of American soccer. His name was Freddy Adu, and by 17, people genuinely believed he'd become the greatest player the United States had ever produced. So what happened? Freddy Adu was born in Ghana in 1989. When he was 8, his mother won the U.S. green card lottery, one of 50,000 families selected at random to immigrate to America. They landed in Maryland, and Freddie immediately started turning heads on local pitches. By 10, he was training with the U.S. under-17 national team. At 11, he had trials with Inter Milan and Manchester United. European giants were flying this kid across the Atlantic because they'd heard whispers about a prodigy from across the waters. At 13, U.S. Soccer fast-tracked his citizenship specifically so he could represent America. And at 14, he became the youngest athlete in modern American professional sports history when he signed with DC United in the MLS. The hype was unreal. Nike gave him a $1 million endorsement deal before he'd played a single minute of professional football. Pele showed up at his unveiling and declared him the future. Everyone was waiting for Freddy Adu to become a superstar. And at first, he delivered just that. In his MLS debut, he came off the bench and assisted the winning goal. A few weeks later, he scored his first professional goal at 14 years and 320 days old, making him the youngest goal scorer in the league's history. He was flashy, he had vision, creativity, and a confidence way beyond his years. He talked like a veteran. He played like someone who belonged. But here's the thing about MLS in 2004. It wasn't exactly a development league. The coaching focused on results, not nurturing teenagers, and Freddie, despite all his talent, was still a 14-year-old playing against grown men. He wasn't getting consistent minutes. When he did play, coaches used him in limited roles that didn't showcase what made him special. After 3 seasons in DC, he'd shown flashes, but he hadn't taken the leap everyone expected. He was still good, just not Pelé good. So in 2007, at 17, he did what every promising American player dreams of. He went to Europe. This is where the story gets painful. Freddie signed with Portuguese giants, Benfica. It should have been his proving ground. Instead, he barely played. He was loaned out to Monaco, barely played. Loaned to Belenenses, not much impact. Loaned to Aris in Greece, then Çaykur Rizespor in Turkey, back to the MLS with Philadelphia before making a move to Bahia in Brazil. His situation never improved as he continued to move from country to country, playing for clubs in Serbia, Finland, Sweden, and eventually the second division of the American pyramid. Between 2007 and 2018, Freddy Adu played for 15 different clubs across 3 continents. He never stuck anywhere. He never developed into the player everyone thought he'd become. And somewhere along the way, the next Pelé became a punchline, the go-to example of overhyped talent that never panned out. So what actually happened? How does the most hyped American prospect ever fade into total obscurity? There's no single answer, but a few things stand out. Firstly, the system failed him. MLS in the mid-2000s wasn't built to develop teenagers. There was no clear pathway, no patient coaching staff willing to let a kid make mistakes and grow. Freddie needed time, patience, and structured coaching, but instead he got media tours and Nike commercials. Second, the pressure was inhuman. Imagine being 14 and having Pele call you the future. Imagine every goal you score making national news, and every bad game sparking think pieces about whether you're a bust. Freddie later admitted the weight of expectations crushed him. He started playing not to lose instead of playing to win. There might have been an age question. This is controversial, but it's part of the story. Freddie's Ghanaian birth certificate listed him as born in 1989, but skeptics have long questioned whether he was actually older. Some pointed to his physical maturity at 14, others to the inconsistencies common in documentation from that era. Freddie and his family have always maintained his age was accurate, but the doubt followed him, and it shaped how scouts and coaches evaluated his trajectory. If he was older, his development curve looked less promising. Fair or not, that perception mattered. The biggest problem for Freddie? His game never evolved. At 14, Freddy's creativity and flair made him special. But as he aged, he didn't add the physical tools or tactical discipline to match. He remained slight, got pushed off the ball easily, and never developed the consistency that separates good players from great ones. The gap between him and his peers, which looked enormous when he was a kid, closed, then reversed. By his mid-20s, Freddy Adu was bouncing between lower leagues, chasing contracts, trying to prove he still belonged. He had tryouts that went nowhere. He signed short-term deals that fizzled. The last club on his professional record is Las Vegas Lights in the USL Championship, America's second division, in 2018. Since then, he's largely stepped away from professional football. He's talked openly in interviews about the mental toll, the regret, the feeling of being chewed up and spit out by a machine that needed a prodigy more than it needed a person. Freddy Adu isn't a cautionary tale about talent. He had talent, real, undeniable talent. He's a cautionary tale about what happens when the hype machine gets a hold of a kid before anyone knows what he'll become. He was 14 years old, and the entire footballing world decided he was the answer to a question they'd been asking for decades. Can America produce a world-class player? They put that weight on a teenager's shoulders, and when he buckled, like almost any teenager would, they moved on to the next story. Freddy Adu didn't fail. The people around him failed to protect him from becoming a product before he had a chance to become a player. That's the story of Freddy Adu, the rise, the fall, and everything in between. Do you think in the right setup he could have reached his full potential? Let me know in the comments. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.